Hello, and welcome to Keep It Real with Shannon Live. It's Shannon. Because you don't know how it's going to turn out. It's Shannon.
My kids empowered me to get out.
What's going on with this remote learning in the midst of COVID?
Working for different elected officials, learning and understanding how to put the community first.
Hello, and welcome to Keep It Real with Shannon. Hello there, ladies. How you doing?
Hey, how are you? Yes, I had a great weekend.
Yes.
Oh, well, wonderful then. Well, we don't even want to hear about it because we know about it already, so we don't want to hear about it. Listen, we're excited tonight because we're continuing our part 2 series of relationships. Last week, we talked about couples. Tonight, we are talking about our toxic family members. And we all have them in our family because I have them in my family. And I'm going to talk about them tonight, too. So we want to invite our guests on that was joining us last week. We want to welcome them back this week to talk about the toxic family.
Absolutely. And our guest that we had last week was Miss Patricia D. Fraser. She's a licensed clinical social worker, and Miss Valerie Montoute, who is a marriage and family therapist. Let's welcome our guests back to the show for this week.
Well, hello there, ladies.
Hi, ladies.
Well, it was pretty hot last week talking about the couples and the relationships.
Yes.
This week we want to continue our series on the relationship, talking about our toxic family members. And we all got them in the family. That some of them, we do have to cut them off at the knee, get rid of them, or just love them from a distance, whichever one you choose. I chose to love mine at a distance. That's what I did.
That works.
That works sometimes.
Sometimes.
So do you think that's good? That's good that we can love them at a distance?
Yeah, I think it can be good, but you have to really know what that looks like for you, because that includes, setting boundaries, right? Because boundaries are very important. When our boundaries are crossed, then that's when mental health issues come in. So it's important for you to say, hey, okay, I'm gonna love you at a distance, but I can't deal with you doing A, B, C, or D, whatever that looks like for you. Whether that's them talking about your spouse, talking about you, telling your business, whatever that is, you can work to set those boundaries and make sure that they understand what those boundaries are and be clear about it. Because a lot of times we're not clear, right? We'll talk around it because there are times we don't want to address that issue fully and we don't want to get into it. We don't want to say how we really feel. And it's important to do that.
Well, I'll just tell you a snitch so you know what I was talking about. Mine was more respect, being disrespected as an older person, being the senior person, and you being the younger person, but you feel like that you can disrespect me and talk to me just like you talking to one of your girlfriends or like that. And see, I'm not accustomed to that. That's not how we was brought up. You don't talk to elderlies or you don't talk like to grown-ups. So that's the problem. And see, I'm still old school, and I'm not going to deal with that. So it doesn't mean I don't love you or whatever, but that means I'll cut you off.
Yeah. I guess sometimes that could be misinterpreted because a lot of kids are having babies, kids having kids, and they tend more now to be more of a friend versus what a parent should be, responsible in terms of speaking to the older ones. So that's something they need to be learning prior to starting a family with their oldest as well.
Well, it's also
there was a
based
time
on
that
how you was
anyone
raised.
that was an adult could, if they saw your child doing something wrong, just being an adult, they could go to your child and say, no, they could actually, straighten them out. And I'm going to let your mother know that I said this to you. Right. But as we were saying before, if they're crossing the line and they're even sometimes getting support from the person, like let's say, for instance, this was a niece to the aunt. And if the aunt sibling is not correcting the behavior, then they're not treating the situation. And then this child or this young person begins to think, well, it's okay for me to talk to adults like that. or you didn't say anything the last time when I spoke to Uncle so and so like that. So it's like what is being reinforced and what is being supported.
Yeah,
in the
but Pat, you
behavior.
know what happened? That's where the parent them come in at, because a lot of times, see, the parent don't discipline the kids. They will allow their kids to talk to you like that.
That's
And they
right.
know that they're not supposed to be talking back, but they allow their children to talk back to seniors or older people or something like that. See, a lot of that comes from the parent as well, because you know we knew better right coming up that we better not talk back to no elderly person. And I told my daughter I better not ever catch her talking back to no older person. You come and tell me if that person
Mhm.
says something to you or
Mhm.
disrespect, whatever. You come tell me, you don't respond to the person.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I
Well,
think we
that's
have
how
to
they
look.
were raised.
Go ahead.
If they're raised like that,
Mhm.
then I mean, do you kind of blame their behavior because you're taught all along I'm able to be disrespectful, I'm able to talk to my elderly family just the way I want to talk to them.
I guess it's also a different breed today. I mean, this next generation is totally like off the spectrum of things, and things are totally different. But I think if they nip it in the butt in the beginning, then they'd be able to have a better hold on it. But sometimes they wait and wait and wait and linger to say something, and then now you get to the point where the child is now raising their hand at you. So it's this whole different dynamic, and when people should respond, when it's appropriate to respond, when it's not to respond.
And children will learn more what they see than what you tell them. So
Yeah.
if you're telling them, oh, you don't speak to that person like that, but then they turn around and they see you speak to other people in a disrespectful way, they're going to do what you did more so. Because, sort of, well, like, do as I say, not as I do. But for young people, they do as you do. And that's where a lot of the issues come in. And then you have to look at, like, what is making that family unit toxic? Like, family units are supposed to be in the traditional nuclear definition. It's supposed to be two parents with children, and that family unit is supposed to have functions and roles, which traditionally someone would be home cooking and cleaning, and someone would go out and be the breadwinner. But we find ourselves with more extended families. Sometimes you have a family where the mother just had a child and the daughter just had a child. So now, the uncle is only a few months older than this child. And so a lot of the roles and the functions start to get blurred, and it's not as clearly defined. So that becomes an issue within the family. Who is bringing in the money? Even traditional roles, in, let's say, in Black families. I mean, we complain sometimes, oh, we're the men, but we have to look at the fact that systematically, Black men have been, occasionally removed. You go back as far as slavery. He didn't feel he owned his family because, we were enslaved and we could be sold like we were property. We were, at some point. So that diminished.
I think I don't want to get too far-fetched in terms of what traditional families are. That has been, I don't really want to say a thing of the past. And I don't want to be selfish saying that, but a lot of things when you say women, somebody's home cooking and cleaning and somebody out as a breadwinner, I think we have moved beyond that because you don't have that traditional two-family household. And even with two-family households today, you couldn't live it with one person staying home, one person working. Just for the economy is to be realistic. And sometimes to speak about the Black men that's not in the house, I'm always saying there are systems in place that are working how they've been designed to work.
Absolutely. There was, I just have to mention, there was a rule back in the 60s where if a family was going to receive any kind of aid for their families, no man could be present in the home. And this adversely affected the Black family because they would come to your house and search to see if there was anything that indicated that a man was there, and that mother could lose benefits for her family. So we've had, then there's drugs, there's mass incarceration. There are a lot of things that have affected us as units, and this spills over in the way that we relate to each other and how we relate to people outside.
Yeah, but I still say, Pat, that regardless, I mean, I know all this stuff now with the young people having babies, the family have changed and all like that. But I still think people know right from wrong. We all know what's right from wrong. Once we get older, we're starting from a teenager on, you know what's right and wrong. You know what you're doing right and you know what you're doing wrong and everything. You know when you're doing something to a family member that you're not supposed to be doing, or to some other person or whatever like that. We have to stop coming up with all these excuses for people's behavior, the way they're acting and stuff. Like, people know better, because you can see that they know better. I mean, we do have a few that might not really know better, but most of the people know better. And they know when they being a pain to somebody else in their family, or being a pain to their friend or whatever. They know they're being disrespectful.
But I think a lot of it is ageism, because elderly people are not valued like they used to be. There was a time that it was understood, like you paid attention to the elders, whether you went to church or whether you were at work. So ageism plays a big role, because now it's like, if you are past 35 or even 40, they act like you're the crypt keeper, like you're ready to go to the grave. So that is a big thing that is not present. Even in music, like you ask some artists, about the music that they're creating, they think they created it, that it didn't come from other people. That
I don't know that song.
Right. I mean, you can't tell younger people that there was somebody else before them that did this, right? They think, no, I created it. I'm the original artist. No, there was a lot.
I think that comes, Valerie. I think that comes from, because you have not been teaching those children from day one. I think that's a lot to do with it. We're not teaching the kids from day one what they supposed to do, how they supposed to do it, being respectful. Because some of these kids, you can tell the parent don't tell them anything. Because even like today, most of them, the parents are scared of the children. They're even afraid to say something to the children or whatever. Like, how you afraid of your own children?
But some of them just don't care. I mean, it's to the point where we're like almost all just lumped together. It just really doesn't matter how old you are. If you are elderly, I'm still going to treat you the way I talk to someone in the street. It's like that's how people have this mindset now.
Because I think it's because that's what I'm saying. It's because we allow, well, not me, because see, I don't have a problem putting that foot where it belongs. You know what I'm saying? That's me. That's my feeling. And I think that's a lot of the problem. I ain't saying you got to beat up your kids and all that kind of stuff, but they need discipline.
Sometimes
need discipline, and kids want discipline.
But you can teach your kids, and sometimes your kids get older, then you got peer pressure, things outside of the home that takes precedent over that. That's a big problem too, as well.
No, I know that. I know you can raise them the right way and they're straight. That part I understand. I'm just saying, we keep trying to act like they don't know no better. They do know better. They know what they're doing. Because if the parent doesn't discipline them or say anything to them, they figure they can get away with it. If they get away with it, the parent, they can get away with it, you, because then they're going to say, you don't have any right saying anything to me. You're not my mother. You're not my father, or whatever.
But that also,
we should be able to say something to other people's children, because you know why? When something happens to them and you are nearby, what do they say to you? You was there. You didn't even do anything to help.
Right.
I caution that today.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it's the parent too.
I caution
the village mentality.
Getting involved. Because people don't want you to talk.
No, I know people don't want you to get involved, but what I'm saying is, if you see somebody's child being abused, you gonna stand there and not say anything?
Being abused is different.
That's something different.
Right. Well, this is what I'm saying. But some people don't even want you saying nothing to the kids. But I'm saying, if I see something going on, because what they're gonna do is turn around and say, well, you didn't try to help the child or anything, Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't go both ways. You either want us to help you raise your kids, or you don't want us to help you raise your kids.
I think the human part of us is not going to allow that to happen. I don't think any of us, whether we're parents or not, would sit by and watch a child being abused or chastised by another adult or another child and not intervene. And even if we're afraid because we think for our own safety, we probably, because I've been in a situation where I was driving my car, and I'm always locking it, but this time I guess I didn't lock it. And they were chasing this girl, and she literally just jumped in my car. And I was able to shut it just
Well,
in time.
Patricia,
Well,
hold that thought.
Hold that thought. We gotta take a quick
But
break.
it was an
And we'll be right back.
intervention.
Hold that, Pat. We gotta take a quick break. We'll be back.
It's Shannon. It's Shannon.
Man, it's lonely. Like going through life lonely.
There is the therapeutic aspect of music, just expressing how you feel. I'm going to talk to Howie about his feelings, make it into a song.
Hello, we're back. We are talking about relationships, our toxic relatives. And before we went to break, Pat, you were saying something. I just want to say hello to our Pastor Oliver. He's joining us tonight. Hi, Pastor. So what you said, Pat, before we went to break?
Yeah, no, I was saying it was an intervention because I didn't have her leave out of my car. And once she got in, like I dialed 911 because they were outside. Had she come outside, they would have, waited for her. So that's just, I know that's more like instinct, but I was just saying before that, I can't see anyone that's caring to just watch something happen and not say something. And it can be to our demise, as Dr. Vanessa was saying. You have to be cautious because something happened. You don't know if you're going to get sued. Well, why did you touch my child? Or you're going to get accused of something, so we really do have to be cautious when we actually go out there to try and intervene and help someone else's child. But it is about communication. It is about having boundaries.
And it still comes even when when you're trying to help your family members. It's the same thing. Even if you're trying to help the family member, they want your help, but then when you're going to help them, then they don't want you doing it because they don't want you saying nothing to their children.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of that we also saw during the pandemic, right? Prior to the pandemic, teachers were treated like crap. Like you was always seeing a video of whatever was going on. And then all of a sudden, when those same parents that would give you grief if you said anything to your child, had to deal with their child all day and all night, then you saw a totally different parent. You saw a parent saying, "Oh, I'm going to listen to you." I mean, a lot of it starts sometimes right then and there because, like you said, there are not always two-parent households. So teachers are like the backup of instilling certain values and keeping basics, not whole family values, but just courtesy and respect. And if we can't respect the people who have our child for 5 hours a day or 7 hours a day, whatever the amount of time, then how do we expect them to respect anyone else who's just trying to help them but get better? And that's what's really important to look at. Like even with the Board of Ed, and I'm not saying that the teachers should hit the students, but why is it on MTA, like with the transit system, if you hurt a transit worker, you get 7 years. You can get up to 7 years. But if a student hurts a teacher, the teacher is on the line. They could lose their whole career for defending themselves, not, that this teacher went after, but merely defending them. Because after that pandemic, then it's like we right back to the same thing. Parents don't want to be parents, because sometimes, it's a glamour thing. Oh, well, I can buy all the cute little clothes for the child. But remember, after 3 years old,
but it worked. Yeah. When it came to the pandemic, it's like you realize what happened when you came to the pandemic. Even myself, I have to admit, you kind of spending all the time with your child. Now you're like, who is this child? I really don't know them. Because think about it, you're coming home at 6 o'clock, by 8, 9 o'clock, they're in the bed. So you're really not having to experience dealing with your child like the teacher does. And so I think everybody learned a valuable lesson during the pandemic.
Yeah, I agree.
But I tell you, Valerie, your point about the teacher not being able to discipline the child. I'm gonna take, when I was in the classroom, I let them know, you get in my face, hit me. You hit me and think you ain't gonna get hit back. I ain't cared about your career. You ain't gonna be in my face taking a chair.
Nowadays things are
Across the head,
right.
you know? Because
Very
one time picked up the chair and hit the teacher and messed up her leg. Her leg was all, get out of here.
right. But see, but that's what I mean right there. Why is it
No.
you can have a transit worker, like if you hurt a transit worker, that's 7 years. But if a teacher gets hurt, no one is held accountable. Not the parent, and the parent should be, because that's your child, right? If your child doesn't have coping skills or whatever it is, and they harm somebody, and now that teacher's out of work, and if that teacher fights back, then guess what happens? That teacher's career is down the
Yeah, but you know, Valerie, you know, when you come into the class, you know that when you come into the classroom is how you gonna manage that class. Them kids, those
they
kids
know who to mess with.
from day one.
What teacher not to mess with? Trust me, they know which teacher
They
to mess
size
with.
you up, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, that's true.
Well, you have to think that you don't care about your job.
Right, but
I'll probably go to jail. It's okay.
Exactly.
But see, part of the
When
problem
got
is
in my face that day, I told him, look, do it. I want you to do it.
Right, but
you
not
know,
everybody comes to work like that, right?
But you know, sometimes you go to work to do a job, right? So we go back to say, you know, the parents should be more responsible, because if their child don't have any coping skills, the coping skills is a whole other subject to me, because that may fall in the realm of mental illness, other issues, medication, lack of medication thereof, families in denial. So it's a whole nother basket that opens why a child is acting out and being more aggressive in school. So
Vanessa, don't come here with that mental illness stuff.
No.
Mentally ill in the school. They are not mentally ill. They are just bad kids that think that they can do whatever they want in the school, and they will mess with the teacher who acts like they scared of them. That's how
I'm the first one to say to stop using mental illness for everything. But I say that there's a lot of things when you talk about coping, a lot of things that are hidden that families do, and kids who do need help and have not received those help. I'm not saying it's justifiable for the things that they do, because wrong is wrong, and they do know things are wrong, and sometimes things may be intentional or not intentional, whatever the case is. But what I'm saying is that there's a lot of hidden things that a child is acting out for some particular reason. It can be
we know children act out in school for different reasons, because there are a lot of things that go on in the home. So we know, teachers know that. And I have to give teachers credit. We have a lot of good teachers. They do take time to talk to the students. They do time, to spend with the kids on their free periods and stuff like that. We have teachers that do all of that kind of stuff and stuff like that. But the kids, like I said, some kids just do things to try you because they know they can, just like your own children. They would do things to try you. But if you don't discipline them and nip it, then what you think is coming next?
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. The next
day, they're gonna kick your little butt.
No, well, I tell you what, my kids, I didn't really have that kind of problem. I could just really look at them, and I ain't really have it. So I didn't have. I don't say it doesn't exist. I see it around in other things, but in my household, I didn't really have that issue. And then besides, the kids weren't here in the country anyway. But just to say that there's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of things that are needed, to raise a child in a society that we're in today. And like we all know, the kids will try you. They may be looking for attention, seeking attention here and there. But we know there's an issue that it's an issue that has to be addressed.
But do you think that the issues also stem a lot of times from single parent homes? Because as a single parent, you're trying to work and you're trying to deal with other issues and take care. So sometimes the children are, they're not neglected, I would say, but you're not putting 100% with them. So
I think single parents do put out 100%. It's just that there's no other partner or parent that's putting in another 100%, because all of that is needed to effectively raise a child. There are a lot of successful young people that have come out of single parent households that's gone on to do some really amazing things.
Yes.
The ideal is always to have that second parent just to even back you up or bounce things off of. But sometimes when you even have a second parent in the house, it doesn't always work. We have blended families, which, you know, you get into that situation and you have people coming from two different parenting styles, and it's still not working to effectively raise that child. And that child could become very rebellious. You're not my real father. You're not my real mother. And then you have a whole nother set of issues. So we, you know, we have to give credit to the single parent that's working that second job, that's picking up their child, that's finding things on the weekend to get them involved with. And if anyone is a single parent, you should really give yourself credit, because there's been some really horrible two-parent households.
Well, see, that's where the family, this is where the toxic family come in, because the toxic family can help you raise your kids if they know how to act with each other.
But they're
That's
not they're not stepping in.
Family helping each other.
Right.
They're not jumping in.
But the family is not doing it.
yourself.
They're not stepping in to help out. You know, they're looking at you struggling, or, you know, or you ask for help and it's like, well, I got my own life and I got stuff to do. So, you know, everybody's
so that might be a bit of a generalization, because I know quite a few single parent households where the extended family is very supportive. Sometimes you even move an elderly parent into the household to help watch your children while you go to work. And it just boils down to just being supportive of each other if you want that unit to work. Again, it goes back to functions. There's got to be some cleaning and there's got to be some cooking. Doesn't matter what the person that's doing it looks like, but somebody's got to do that. Somebody's got to be bringing some money into the household. If you don't have those factors in, and faith, you know, I touched on that last time. Faith is very important. You find families that are faith-based tend to stay together more because they have the values of the faith, they have the support of the church or whatever your religion is.
Well, we're gonna have to wrap up, Pat. I'm trying to right after this part of the show. We're gonna go into after show. So if you want to continue to stay on with us for our after show, you do. You can always go back and look at us on the Facebook and YouTube. So we want to thank you for joining us tonight. And you always can look at us every Saturday at 5:30 on Brick and at 2:30 on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and catch us here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. So if you want to stick around for the after show, we'll be right back. But we're going to end this segment. We want to thank Valerie and Pat for coming on. And as always, we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Today's show is sponsored by Abu's Bakery. If you have a sweet tooth, stop by Abu's Bakery for some delicious cakes and pies.
Would you like beautiful pictures for your home or your office? Then stop by Faith Art Gallery. They have a large selection of pictures from around the world.
It's Shannon. It's Shannon. It's Shannon. It's Shannon. Keeping it real.
Hi, we're back for our after show. So I hope you stuck around. Pat, as you were saying, you was bringing up about the parents taking their kids.
The parent, the parenting styles and just dealing with blended families, because I know, like with my practice, I've had families come in where it's not one of the parents' biological children, and they're all living there, and the kids become resentful. And that's a lot of stuff you see acted out in the schools also. The kids become resentful because this other person is acting as if, and they know that's not their biological parent. And one of the suggestions that I make, and that's something that I learned just from hearing people talk about it, is that really the biological parent should be the one that's disciplining their children, and the other parent should really support that person in disciplining the children. But the one that's going to talk to the child, that should be the biological parent. But sometimes, or
Oh, wait a minute. Can I just interject here, please?
Sure.
Please let me interject here. I understand what you were saying, right?
Mhm.
But if I'm married to somebody that has children and they're living here and I got to take care of you, I got to feed you, clothe you, and everything, I'm going to have the right to help discipline you as well. I don't
say
see
you
the other
shouldn't.
parent doing it and I can't discipline because I'm not trying to be the other person's mother if the mother's still alive or whatever. But I am like your second mother, and that's how you're supposed to look at me, is like a second person, because I'm here helping to take care of you and doing everything for you because now you're living under this roof. So I can't see not having the right to discipline you. No.
Well, I'm not saying you
You
don't
up
have
in my
the
face
right.
saying something to me, you
No,
ain't got
I'm not
nothing to
saying
do.
you don't have the right to discipline, but what works best is when that biological person, you decide with your partner, okay, we're taking the cell phones and the curfew is 7 o'clock. Let the person that's a biological parent deliver that. So and so and I feel that this is the case, because what's going to happen is they're already resentful a lot of the time that this is not their biological parent that's there with their mom or dad or whomever, whatever the structure is. So now you're looking as if you're the person that's come into my house now, and look, my mom is allowing you to talk to me any kind of way, and she never used to take my cell phones before you came. Now you're here and all of a sudden I'm so it builds up. After a while, it's perfectly fine. But those kids, they need to build trust. They need to know you're going to be around. They need to know you really care about them and you're not just there because you like their other parent. So you develop a relationship better if you use that structure.
So do you recommend that both parents will sit down and talk to the child? Because you just can't leave it
Absolutely.
you can't just leave it up to the biological child, to the
As
biological parent.
as I said, that you're supporting the biological parent. So you were both there, but the one delivering it works best when it's the biological parent. And the younger the child is, when you start a blended family, the better, because they just know these two people. But when you're talking about teenagers or older kids, and now they've already formed relationships, and now you're coming in and telling them what to do, it does foster resentment. I've seen it over and over again.
Absolutely, but I see in part that those blended families, if the child is that age, they should be gradually integrate the relationship, right? Sometimes people jump
Yes.
out the pot into the fire, and these nuances become new to these teenagers, and they don't have a inclination on what they need to do, how they're supposed to respond, what they can do, what they can't do. Will things change? Have they been told that things would change? Things would be a little bit different. Some parents don't explain these things to kids.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying. And I think whether it's a blended family or even a single family, it's very important in this day and age to have an open dialogue with your kids. Because even in the past, we never, a lot of times Black families did not incorporate or talk to their kids about what's going on. And sometimes it's needed to do that, whether that's finances, housing, education, everything. Once you open that dialogue, no one says that you have to, like, if they suggest something, you got to go with it, but explain to them why it may not work or why it could work, or incorporate them in there. Because now children nowadays are receiving information a lot faster than we've ever had before. So it's important, no matter what the family dynamic, no matter what it looks like, to talk to your child and find out what's going on. No one says you have to be a therapist and be perfect at it, but you have to start somewhere, because if you're by yourself, you need to find out what's going on before, and don't leave it up to the teacher to handle everything and solve whatever's going on, because kids will talk to you if they think that you're actually going to listen.
And I think that's the hidden gem that you just mentioned right there. The hidden gem, that kids are not brought to the table. And I know sometimes you have parents, unfortunately, they are grandfather in their ways. It's like what they say, do as I do, not as I say. And sometimes nowadays, kids need to have a voice at the table, because sometimes they need to be able to say, okay, if I like this, I don't like this, or what about this, or offer of an alternative. And sometimes good, and that bridges and strengthens the communication in that family dynamics as well.
Absolutely.
I wanna bring us. I know we kind of got off. We didn't got off our toxic family member talking about these children, but I want to come back to the family. In dealing with these family members that likes to keep drama going all the time, do you advise that maybe the family should come together for therapy, or what how do you feel about that?
I mean, I think you can do that, but only if everybody's willing to be truthful, right? And also be receptive to what they hear, right? Because if that toxic family member is the one that's talking about everybody or being disrespectful, they have to be mature enough to understand and listen to what's being said to them, because a lot of times people will say, yeah, I'm gonna go to therapy, but they don't want to listen to nothing, they don't want to hear nothing, they don't want to be receptive to how other people feel, because that's what it's all about. When you come there, it's an exposure of your feelings, right? What you are experiencing, how it's affecting your life. Because when there's no communication, or if you're dealing with someone that's not going to acknowledge what they're doing to you or what they have done, right? Because that's important too. People will say, you could say, well, when I was little, you left me in the room with so-and-so. And they're like, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? And so-and-so did something to me. And I've been trying to tell you this for years. And they don't want to acknowledge that. They don't want to recognize that, yeah, you did leave them in the room with so-and-so. Whatever it is. So
but that means the toxic person would have to go to therapy themselves without family first, because they have to work on themselves, because whatever is going on in the past or whatever they're harboring, right, needs to be resolved, because that's why they're bringing the toxicity to the family, because they are troubled themselves. So we as a family can't work together if they can't get it together.
And it affects the entire family. It really does. Because if they're being toxic towards you, trust and believe there's toxicity when they're home with the other members. Like you were saying before, Tiffani, it's not, you just happen to be the one that's in front of them at that point. But it's about them and how they relate, maybe to authority figures. Maybe they're angry at a parent, but then they're just displacing it on anyone that's in a position of authority. And if there is some kind of mental issue, then they really need to have it addressed, because it's just not gonna go away on its own.
But what do we do when they don't want to go to therapy?
Our audience member said,
yeah.
Our audience member wants to know, if they have a family member that don't want to go to therapy, what do you do with them? Put them outside the house. That's what I say.
Well, it depends on how serious it is. I mean, if this person, and unfortunately, we've seen what happens when you have a really mentally ill person. Sometimes you call, and if the police department responds, that can end up turning disastrous, even deadly. But there are
no, we're not saying they're mentally ill. We're saying that they are a person that likes to keep drama going all the time.
But they could be bipolar and keep the drama.
No, but that's not the question. The question that the guest is asking is, oftentimes toxic family members does not want to get help. What do you do then?
Cut them off.
That's what I just said.
That's it. That's what I say. If the person is acting out, you may have to take extreme steps for them to get it. If not, as I was about to say, you can go to court. You can go to court and petition to have your loved one get help, mandated help. There are groups like LifeNet that will come out to the home. It's involuntary. You don't have to go, but they'll come out and try to encourage that person to get help.
Well,
if you're looking to really help the person.
Well, my interpretation of that question wasn't to the extreme, right? When you need that type of intervention, you could just have someone just harboring some traumatic event in one case, and they're just not being compliant, not necessarily being violent in a sense, and they just harboring these manifesting these
behaviors.
very behaviors for years and not don't want to get help. You know, something else. I mean, to the extreme is a whole another thing.
Yeah.
And you know, for police to come, court to be involved, and here and there. But I think that how do you deal with a toxic man where you just don't want to get help?
Then you
I
have
think
to
you
decide
cut 'em
what
off.
your boundaries are. Like part of that is, what are your boundaries?
Yeah.
And if
cut 'em off.
boundaries are, if you know, you've noticed that when they're with you or when they're around, you know, they're talking, whatever it is that is causing you to change your mood, your disposition, your self-esteem, then you know, you can do it the cheap way and just cut them off. Like start distancing yourself slowly,
Yeah.
surely, because
what I-
that's going to affect your mental health at the end of this.
That's what I
Right?
say.
If you don't want to
Cutting
do
them
all
off
that, right?
sends a message. Sends
Right.
a message.
It does send a
Sends
message,
a message
but
when
you
cut
have
them
to
off.
stay sure. You have to stay strong in what your boundaries are.
But what in
Right?
case it's a parent? Because that's a difficult thing too. Some people have parents that are toxic and drama. How do you go about cutting your parent off? I mean,
Well,
you
then
really don't
it's
want to do
the
that.
You have to
Well, you
start
can-
working towards getting out of that household, you know, depending on how old you are, because it's not going to really, you're not going to do too much to change that parent. You can maybe find a relative on the outside that you can talk to about that parent, but then you have to really start working towards leaving that household because it's going to affect you mentally. Even the mild cases
Well,
affect you
even
mentally.
if you're not even in the house, Pat, even if you're not even in the house with a parent, if you feel your parent is that toxic and you can't get it, then you leave.
Mhm.
Right, but
your own
also
place.
it's not is you're also leaving, but you also remember it's going to be almost like grieving because there's going to be a part of you that's going to hurt because you're letting them go because they're your parents. We see, you can see that with a lot of different things. So it would have to, you know, you can go to a therapist to maybe go through like a treatment which would be similar to grieving because the hardest part is letting go of someone you really and truly love, especially if they've raised you. And it's hard to say, yes, this person raised me, I love them, but they toxic. So you have to learn to let it go and realize it's a grieving process for you. And that's what's important to realize. I have to let them go because it's affecting me mentally and emotionally. And maybe even financially.
People need to know that that's okay.
Yes, it is okay. It is okay. You can love someone from afar, but also realize that they're not. And I mean, that goes for whether it's a parent, a sibling, that could be even your own child. Because sometimes you have to step away. You can say that I did the best that I can do and accept that this is the best that I've done. I've done everything that I can do, but you can't let them take you down in that whole process.
I agree. I agree 100%. And I say that because I'm in that situation where I have to leave a child alone. And I'm okay with that because it works for me.
Yeah.
I always wish for the best luck. I don't say it in a facetious way with cases. It works for me because I'm okay. You know, and I say that with a good.
Well, see, I agree with you on that, Dr. Vanessa, because the thing about it is, if you as a parent and you know that you have done what you're supposed to have done as a parent, and you trying to help them, and they just feel that they know it all, they don't. Well, then that's the best thing for you to do. You need to just go head on out there and live your life. You don't have to see that parent or whatever. Then when you come to your senses, you realize that well, the parent was trying to help me. Then you can try to find your way back if they let you back. If they let you back in, but when people get to that point, sometimes you just need not to say anything. Just let them go head on and do what they need to do. That's.
But I just want to just add something, right? That I have said, a little personal experience. I'm not really one parent to I'm not going to apologize for being a parent. If a child comes to me with something and they've mentioned something years ago, I will apologize of how things was interpreted if it was misinterpreted. But I will not apologize for being a parent. Sometimes things and circumstances happen in life where people have to make decisions at their time. Okay, sometimes it could be a split decision. It could be a decision that needs a wrong intention unfortunately sometimes. But it's not that it's necessarily always intentional. So I don't think people intentionally mean to hurt others, okay, but it can be misinterpreted as that.
Yeah.
Some people do it
sometimes
intentionally.
Sometimes they do.
I've
Sometimes
seen
they
people do
Yeah.
it intentionally
They
to
do.
hurt somebody.
Yeah. But I think when it comes to a situation like family with the children and the parents or whatever with the parent or family member, well, why you just can't tell the person what the problem is? What is the problem you have with the parent? So then tell the parent, oh, are you interfering in my business too much? Then tell the parent, okay, I don't want you interfering. Let me make my own decision or whatever.
But
like
some
that.
kids can't
It's
talk to
about
parents.
communication. It's not.
It depends, yeah. But it depends on the level. It depends on the level of respect, because sometimes they may feel that it's disrespectful to say that to my mom or to say that to my dad, that this is how I really feel. So they try to avoid it, or they approach it in a very different way. But as you were saying before, I feel if you know you've done everything that you can do to help that child, to remove yourself, you might be doing that child the biggest favor, because now they're kind of forced to get the help that they need, because they don't have you as the crutch, or they don't have you as the scapegoat. It's your fault. It's your fault. And maybe they'll get the help that they need. But, there are parents that have been out there in dangerous situations from their own children that they have had to ask for help from outside.
Well, hopefully the families are getting together. Our time is up, but hopefully families are getting together, because this is the time that we need each other. And if we don't get it together now, it's never going to get together. Because with everything that's going on, all of this stuff that's going on now with the fires and the floods and what's going on, it is all of this stuff is to come. It's already been predicted. This stuff is happening. It's already been predicted that the family is being destroyed, because the family has already been destroyed. We're not families anymore like we used to be anymore. We can't even sit down at the dinner table at Thanksgiving and talk to each other. Everybody's on the phone or whatever. Nobody's talking to each other anymore. So we have to come back together as a family and stop being so toxic and stop being like crazy or however you want to say it. We got to come back to loving each other. We don't love each other anymore like we used to. And I think that's the problem. So look, ladies, I want to thank you so much for staying around and talking to us a little bit more. And we have definitely had therapy tonight. So we thank you for our free therapy. We hope you'll come back and join us again at another time. And so we want to thank the audience for joining us tonight and your comments and making recommendations to us as well. So look, be well, stay strong. Remember to watch us every Saturday at 5:30 on Brick, and also in Manhattan Neighborhood at 2:30. And you can catch us here every Tuesday. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and follow us on our Facebook page. So thank you again. And as always, thank you, Miss Kara. And as always, we'll see you next time.